Okay, so hi everyone. Welcome to the art of mileage running and other fun things you can do in civil aviation. First, I want to start by apologizing for not making it for the talk like 2 weeks ago. I totally overslept the time and I'm very sorry for that. But it's good. So basically what I'm going to talk about is about the fun hacks you can do like to get the most out of the airport hub we have in Singapore, and to recognize how lucky we are to have Changi Airport, and how to make the most of it. And so I'll be talking about some basic theory about how to get the best of the airlines and get the best of the airport. And then I'll be opening the floor to questions. So let's start with the 3 major airline alliances. Is my screen still shared? Huh?
No.
No. Okay, let's see. Okay, now Ken?
Yes.
Okay. So now without further ado, I'll just move on to the 3 major airline alliances. Okay, so we have SkyTeam, Star Alliance, and oneworld. So if you want membership in an airline alliance, this one of the 3 is what you want to go for. Of course, our own Singapore Airlines is part of Star Alliance, together with airlines like Air China, All Nippon, Lufthansa, and United Airlines. Star Alliance turns out to be one of the biggest alliances that's available. But of course, we have SkyTeam and oneworld as well. So what happens with these airline alliances is that you can book tickets that fly different legs, but from different airlines in the same alliance. Let's say you want to go from Singapore to Los Angeles. You could probably book a ticket that brings you from Singapore to Tokyo on Japan Airlines, and then from Tokyo to LA on American Airlines. And basically, if you have say a Go membership with any one of the alliance airlines within an alliance, let's say you have KrisFlyer Elite Gold with Singapore Airlines, then you'll be recognized as a Star Gold by the other airlines as well, and you receive some benefits for that. So that's about it for airline alliances. So if you join a membership scheme in an airline, mostly you'll be getting 2 things: award miles and status points or miles or whatever. So award miles you can redeem for free flights, and for the status miles, it's just to give you better status with the airline. Let's say there are airlines which go with like basic membership, then silver, then gold, then whatever. So so status miles are the things that are going to do that for you. But firstly, award miles accrue when you fly, and these can be used to redeem flights. So what you want to know for this type of thing is how many miles will you be accruing for each mile traveled in every travel class. So let's say a flight is one
Cannot hear you. Hey, Zhiyan, cannot hear you. Hey, Zhiyan, cannot hear you. Can you hear me? Zhiyan, can you hear me, Zhiyan? We cannot hear you.
No sound, huh?
Hey, hello. We can't hear you, no? Hello. Yeah, we cannot hear you. No, we cannot hear you. You cannot hear us also, is it?
Oh, I can't hear you as well.
We have been calling you, say that you cannot hear. We cannot hear you. You can't hear us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see what's wrong.
From until got mouse, don't know what privilege, that's all. The starting only got cut. Exchange airline like Japan airline, then cannot hear already.
Okay, sorry.
You check. You're on mute. Can hear or not? You can hear us or not? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Now can. Now can. Yeah, just now what happened? How come suddenly no sound?
Can you hear me?
Now can. Okay.
Now can. Okay. Sorry.
We very long already. Miss very long already.
Okay, so where should I start?
Until we had alliance. Then you got Japan
Okay.
Airline. That's all. Then.
Oh yeah, so I was talking about like you can, yeah. So within one alliance, they're cooperating, right? So they'll be creating flights that go from one place to another with flights made up of different flights from different airlines in the alliance. So one other thing about alliances is that if you have a certain status in one airline in the alliance, let's say you are a KrisFlyer Elite Gold on Singapore Airlines, probably Swissair and United Airlines would recognize you as a Star Gold member. So you'll be receiving benefits throughout the alliance when you fly with it. Okay, so that's all about airline alliances. And okay. Okay, so now I'll talk about award miles. Okay, so basically, if you join a frequent flyer program, you'll be receiving you'll be caring about basically two types of things: award miles and status miles. So award miles are basically miles that you accrue and can be used to redeem flights, whereas status miles are for you to climb up the tiers of membership to receive more benefits when you travel. So starting with award miles are accrued when you fly, and they can be used to redeem flights. And what you basically want to know when we talk about award miles are these. So you want to know the accrual charts. How many miles will you accrue for each mile traveled in a given travel class? And so to illustrate this, let's say you are flying, let's say you're doing a flight that is 1,000 miles from Singapore to somewhere in Southeast Asia, so 1,000 miles. But it doesn't mean that you'll be getting 1,000 miles because you flew 1,000 miles. Let's say you're flying in a basic economy class, that is the lowest fare class that the airline offers. That would probably mean that you're getting like 25% or 50% of the miles. And so for a 1,000-mile flight, there will be 250 or 500 miles. Whereas if you fly in first class, you'll probably be getting like 300% of the miles, which would be 3,000 miles on a 1,000-mile flight. So if you are interested in collecting miles through travel, you would be interested in knowing exactly how many miles will I get for a certain flight in a certain fare class. Now, you would also want to know the redemption charts, because how many miles you get is useless information without knowing how much these miles are worth. So basically, many airlines would split the world into several zones. Like Singapore Airlines would say Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia is zone 1, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Philippines say might be zone 2, and let's say Japan, North China is zone 4, and South China, Taiwan is zone 3. And they'll put a certain price on a flight from one zone to another. So let's say they'll say, oh, flights from zone 1 to zone 1, let's say between Singapore and Malaysia, are 20,000 miles in business class. And the flights from zone 1 to zone 2 is so many miles in business class, and so on. So you would probably want to know, before you choose a frequent flyer program, how many miles you'll be accruing on the flights you fly the most, and also what is the value you can get out of those flights in terms of redemption. So you also want to consider the mileage expiry rules. there are some airlines in which, as long as your account is active, like you fly with them every once in a while, your miles will never expire. And airlines like British Airways, they have this sort of policy. But then you have also airlines like Singapore Airlines, where miles expire 3 years after accrual. And so you want to plan your redemptions around these timelines, because your miles will become worthless after they expire. Okay, so now frequent flyer status. Frequent flyer status normally comes in a few tiers. Like you can go, in Singapore Airlines, we have two separate sorts of frequent flyers. You have the Kris Flyer and the PPS Club. And in each of these types of programs, Kris Flyer has Kris Flyer Normal, like you have no status, Kris Flyer Silver and Kris Flyer Gold. And there is also PPS Club that has PPS and PPS Solitaire. And so there are different ways by which airlines award frequent flyer status. Let's change this. Okay, so the first is distance-based. Basically, how far do you fly? And this is the most common. So airlines like Air China, SQ Kris Flyer, and United Airlines, they will give you a status based on how far you fly. And revenue-based, how much do you spend flying? So SQ PPS Club, you have to spend like 25,000 Sing dollars a year to get into PPS Club and 50,000 a year to get into PPS Solitaire. So yeah, and then you have the tier points based, and that's the most interesting because you're given points that are awarded for each flight based on certain criteria. And this criteria can be quite interesting. So of course, what we are discussing today is how you get the best of the airlines. So what I'm going to talk about now is how do you get the most award miles and the highest frequent flyer status without necessarily spending a lot of money. So without further ado, okay, let's go to the distance-based programs. Okay, so distance-based is self-explanatory. The accrual of distance-based status miles is similar to the accrual of award miles. And you can game this, like you can get status cheaper than other people if you book unusually cheap flights. And one example of this is, is this. So you're flying from Luxembourg to Cairo through Munich, and you're flying back to Luxembourg through Zurich, and you see that this actually very long flight is $158. So actually the distance, in terms of distance, this flight is quite long. Okay, so but the problem with this is that this method and this sort of distance base is that if you want to get membership out of these elite membership out of these distance-based programs, it requires a lot of butt and seat miles. So it means like you have to sit in your seat and earn the miles, and that is not ideal because you have to put your butt in your seat in the airplane, and that can be very tiring after a while. So I prefer not to do this. Of course, you can also do revenue-based. There are also revenue-based programs such as the PPS Club in Singapore Airlines. And you cannot really game this because your tier in the tier of membership really depends on how much you spend flying. So in order to get PPS Club, as I said, you need to spend $25,000 on business class or first class flights with Singapore Airlines. So you really must spend as much as they require to reach each tier of the program. So this is impossible to gain. There's no way of getting it for any cheaper than any other people. And now you have the most interesting tier point based model of programs. So in tier points based programs, tier points are awarded using a fixed set of rules. And once you reach a certain number of tier points, you are upgraded automatically to a certain status. So this can be gained by gunning for cheap flights, as in the distance-based programs, and also the corner cases. So what are corner cases? This is the airline, this is the tier point chart for British Airways. So you can see that they award different number of tier points according to your class of travel, whether it's economy, different sorts of economy, business, or first. And they also differentiate on whether your flight is below 2,000 miles or above 2,000 miles. So of course, you see an opportunity where you can book relatively cheap business class tickets that are just slightly above 2,000 miles. And you'll get a load of status points for that. So let's look at an example so every one of these legs, so this is a single round trip ticket from Los Angeles to Panama City. This ticket is special because you are charged for a flight from Los Angeles to Panama City. And this is 781 pounds. But of course, this person in his infinite wisdom decided to book, instead of going directly from Los Angeles to Panama City, he decided to go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different connections before arriving in Panama City. And the result of this is that they are getting a number of tier points for every single flight in this ticket. And if you multiply that by 16, actually it can be enough to get the highest tier of membership already in British Airways. And the cost of this is minimal. Like it costs $1,500 to get to British Airways Go. So if you're willing to just spend a lot of time flying around, and this is first class, by the way, so it's not even that painful. If this was economy, I understand that it would be quite bad, but first class, come on. So basically, for tier points, there are two strategies. Either you can go for just above 2,000 miles, or you can do like this person did. You can try to squeeze as many connections as you can for the price of a single ticket. So here, you're only getting charged for going from Los Angeles to Panama City. This is the price, 781 pounds. But instead of just getting 40 tier points each way, you're getting 8 times the amount. So that's quite worth it. This is a classic example of how you can get a very high tier of membership very cheaply using a tier point run. Okay, so let's look at another example of what edge cases can be. So Lufthansa, in its new frequent flyer program, is introducing this concept of continental and intercontinental flight. So continental flights would be entirely within a continent. In the case of Lufthansa, it would probably mean that you're flying within Europe, let's say Paris to München, or let's say London to Helsinki on Lufthansa. So Continental flights give you lesser tier points because they are shorter. And intercontinental flights, let's say from Asia to Europe, Europe to North America, would give you a higher number of tier points for each flight, no matter what class of travel you're on. Okay, so how can this be exploited? So unfortunately for Lufthansa, there is a continent called Africa, and specifically in that continent, there is this place called North Africa. And North Africa, as you know, is very close to Europe. So you have flights from Frankfurt or from Munich to Algiers in North Africa, and this is a very short flight, 2-hour flight. But under this classification, you would be considered an intercontinental flight. And this is interesting because flights from Europe to North Africa are usually not much more expensive than flights within Europe itself. In fact, the distance from Frankfurt to Algiers is around the same distance as from Frankfurt to Portugal or Spain. So you get stuff like this. You can fly from Dublin to Algiers through Frankfurt on Lufthansa. And if this was Dublin to Paris through Frankfurt on Lufthansa, you'll be only getting 40 points because this is it would be intra-European, and this is business class, so you'll just take 10 times 4. But now, instead of that, you'll be getting 10 for Dublin to Frankfurt, 50 from Frankfurt to Algiers, 50 from Algiers to Frankfurt, and 10 from Frankfurt to Dublin. And this would be 120 tier points on Lufthansa. So the highest tier of Lufthansa, if I'm not wrong, is Horn Circle, and that will require you to get 1,500 tier points. But of course, doing it this way is much cheaper than flying business class all the time from Singapore to Frankfurt and stuff like that. So North African flights in the future, after Lufthansa starts this system, North African flights will be a very interesting target for mileage and tier point running. Okay, so why do you want to get status? So mostly, of course, it's to apart from the extra baggage allowance and priority check-ins and priority boarding, it's the lounges. So there are different types of lounges in the sky. Okay, so different types of lounges are available in airports. The first type is the type you want to be in, called the airline lounge. So airline lounges are operated by airlines for its premium cabin passengers and elite members. And many a time, these lounges operated by an airline are also available for its alliance partners. So let's say you have a Singapore Airlines lounge in Singapore, and let's say you're flying United Airlines to San Francisco in business class. You would probably be allowed to access the business class lounge of Singapore Airlines because United Airlines is a alliance, Star Alliance partner of Singapore Airlines. Then you have the other sort, that is the contract lounge, that will be operated by a contractor for multiple airlines. So an example of this would be the SATS lounge in Singapore. So needless to say, the airline lounges provide far better amenities and food and whatever than contract lounges. So for instance, in the SATS lounge, you would be stuck cooking your own laksa with very few ingredients. But airline lounges, say the private room in Singapore Airlines, would offer a la carte dining in a restaurant style. So this is very different indeed. And yeah, and there are a few programs that I would recommend just for the lounge access. For instance, if you go to Hong Kong very often, you'll notice that that the Cathay Pacific lounges in Hong Kong Airport are some of the best in the world. So if you are a One World Emerald member, say from British Airways, you will be able to access these lounges as an alliance partner. But Hong Kong lounges, Cathay Pacific, they offer a la carte dining, they offer noodle bars, places to sleep and so on, champagne and whatever. And in Frankfurt, Lufthansa offers for its on-circle members a first-class terminal. And so if you are the highest level of elite in Lufthansa, you don't even need to go to the regular airport terminal in Frankfurt. Instead, you will drive up directly to the first-class terminal, and that is entirely separate from the rest of the airport. And when it's time to board the flight, you'll be they'll bring you to the plane on a Mercedes-Benz or a Porsche. So that's pretty nice, and that's a perk for the on-circle members. Okay, so now let's the elephant in the room, that is, do you even need to do all this, right? Because you have stuff like Priority Pass and Dragon Pass. So these lounge membership programs are offered by credit cards. So a lot of credit cards you see, they'll say, oh, you get 2 visits to airport lounges on Priority Pass, or you get 4 visits on Dragon Pass, or unlimited Priority Pass visits. So what are these? So these are lounge membership programs offered by credit cards that typically only offer access to contract lounges. So you're talking about like the SETS Premier Lounge in Changi Airport. And these lounges, I can tell you, are not very good. But a good thing is you can get alcohol there. You can get as much alcohol as you want. And some of these lounges, like the SETS Lounge, they have what do you call it? So there are other contract lounges in Singapore as well. But basically, you get alcohol and there is a buffet. Some contract lounges don't even have a buffet. Some contract lounges don't even have alcohol. Some contract lounges, say, especially in China, they offer only mineral water. So better not to use your visits on that. But a buffet is still good. So some memberships are limited in terms of visits per year. So let's say a lower tier credit card might with a lower annual fee might say, okay, you can visit 2 times a year or 4 times a year. But some credit cards, those with $300 or $400 membership fees, they are unlimited number of visits. So you can go as many times as you want. And some of the credit cards, they allow you guesting privileges. So let's say you have your wife traveling with you or your husband traveling with you. You can bring your spouse in with you. And some, you can even bring 2 of them, maybe a child. But some of them don't allow guesting privileges. So you should check with your bank to see, what precisely the benefits offered by these. And both of these programs cover for some sort of restaurant dining in airports around the world. So for Priority Pass, like in certain airports in Australia and the United States, they will provide a $35 per head discount from bills at participating airport restaurants. So let's say if you have a Priority Pass membership with a guest privilege, and you bring someone along with you to an airport restaurant that participates in a priority pass, then you can get $70 off your bill. So if the dining bill is less than $70, then essentially your meal is free. So that's good. And the Dragon Pass is more geared, instead of US and Australia, Dragon Pass is more geared towards Asia. So Dragon Pass would offer free set meals at participating airport restaurants. And most of these airport restaurants are in Asian countries like Malaysia, Singapore, China. Yeah, so and these set meals are free. So they'll say what you can pick from the menu, and it's not a discount. It's literally like you just walk in and eat and leave. There's no bill for you at the end. Dragon Pass picks it up for you. So, which brings us to the Changi Airport lifestyle. Okay, so so this would entail you living in Changi Airport all the time, 24/7. Oh, not 24/7. You can go to work, of course, and other places, but every night you sleep at Changi Airport. So how can this be comfortable, you may ask? And perhaps, you may be thinking of this when you think about the Changi Airport lifestyle. Yeah, so living in an airport, how comfortable can it be, right? No, this is not the way to live in an airport. This is not the way to live the Changi Airport lifestyle. But let me ask you this. How much is this lifestyle worth, right? You have a place to sleep every night. You have a gourmet food, $30 to $50 standard every weekend, or you can do it nearly every day if you want. Unlimited alcohol, as much as you can drink, and holiday in Southeast Asia every weekend. So I'll just open up the floor. You can unmute yourselves. Tell me how much a month would you be willing to spend to live like this? Yeah, so please open up your mics if you want to participate, or go through the chat.
The gourmet food, is it free? Or
Free. Free. You don't have to pay for the gourmet food. Free. No. I'm not talking about whether it's free now. I'm just asking now for, if you live like this, if you have a place to sleep every night, you eat gourmet food every weekend or nearly every day, you have unlimited alcohol, you holiday in Southeast Asia every weekend, how much would you be willing to spend on this lifestyle every month? I'm not talking about how much it costs, but about whether it's free, but I'm talking about how much will you be willing to spend on this lifestyle?
Well, I think at least 2,000.
At least 2,000 a month.
Yeah, one bed. $1.
Okay, I tell you one thing.
Not every lounge open 24 hours.
Yeah, but many lounges open 24 hours, and it's the ones. Okay, so
every night already worth it. Every night you got place to sleep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us don't have girlfriend now.
Yeah. Okay, so actually I tried this out myself. And so I tried this for 2 weeks, and basically what I extrapolated it to is this would cost you just $3,500 a year. You can live in the airport every night. You can fly to KL every weekend, and you can eat as much as you want in the airport restaurants. As I said, Dragon Pass offers free set meals at participating restaurants in Changi Airport, and you can get as much liquor beer, wine, other alcohol as you want in the contract lounges in Changi Airport. So so the cost is $500 for Priority Pass or Dragon Pass membership. You'll be getting this like through a credit card. So the credit card annual fee you have to pay for this type of thing. And you pay $60 a week for each flight to KL. So you go to KL every week. And okay, so basically how lounge access works in Singapore is that you can start using a lounge 48 hours before your flight, and you can use your lounge 48 hours after the flight. And okay, so let's look at the possibilities. So in Singapore, there are 2 lounges that are actually outside the airport. So I guess if you're okay, so this was before COVID, but before COVID, there was this lounge. Before COVID, there was this lounge in Terminal 3 called the Haven, which you can go without entering the secure area. So before entering passport control, there is a lounge called the Haven. And what you can do, since this is before immigration and security, you can actually go there every night. So let's say you have a flight to KL for the weekend, but and let's say you buy a fully refundable ticket that you can refund after using the Haven. So armed with your Priority Pass or Dragon Pass membership and the ticket over the weekend or whatever, you can actually stay in one of these rooms every night. And they will also provide, of course, soft drinks, juice, instant noodles, and also a set meal. And so basically the strategy is from Mondays to Fridays, if you need to go, from Mondays to Thursdays anyway, when you go to sleep, you go after work or after going to school or whatever, you just go to the Haven. You have a nice meal, and you go to sleep. And then when you're up in the morning, you just swipe your card again and get a free breakfast to start your day. So the only meal you have to pay for every day essentially is lunch, which, needless to say, is pretty awesome. Of course, you can get as much coffee as you want, bread, biscuits, toast. Yeah, newspaper. That's good, that's good. So from Mondays to Thursdays, you go to the Haven. But from Friday to Sunday, Friday night, you know, you get off work. So you are free all the way till Monday morning, right? So this is where you go actually fly to KL. But before flying to KL, as I said, you can use the airport. You can be in the secure area 48 hours before departure and 48 hours after departure. So so in this case, you can use the Dragon Pass restaurants in Changi Airport. Here this is one of the most. Okay, and then you can get okay, a lot of these things are temporarily closed, but basically you can get set meals from like the kitchen by Wolfgang Park, Hudson's Coffee, and this hawker store. But one of the lounges I really want to recommend, the Dinata Lounge as well. They actually have a barista making coffee for you live. So if you like Starbucks, then this lounge actually every morning has free coffee that is of the Starbucks variety. So if you check in 48 hours beforehand, as I said, your trip to KL. So Friday evening after work, you can already go to one of these restaurants and eat a meal that will cost you, say, $30 to $50 in the city. And you can do that over the entire weekend. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, you can have it in the airport, in a restaurant in the airport. And and you can drink as much as you want, because lounges like the Mahaba Lounge, Sets Premier Lounge, and the Dinata Lounge, as well, the Plaza Premium Lounge doesn't offer alcohol, but for free, but the other lounges do, and that's as much alcohol as you want. And of course, there are sleeping areas in the lounges, which also means that you have a roof over your head. And because you are paying for air tickets to KL, of course, if you spend a bit more, you can go to other places other than KL. You can go to Thailand or what. But what I'm saying is you get a free trip, essentially free, because you're getting a lot of benefits. You're getting a holiday to somewhere in Southeast Asia every week. So that $3,500 is really very little to spend on such a lifestyle. And what I'm looking forward to is that I hope after COVID-19 is over, you know, that this sort of lifestyle will become possible in Singapore again. Because, come on, who doesn't want to have fun and spend very little, right? So, okay, so that's all there is to my talk. Thank you very much. And questions?